Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the council meeting of Monday, May 2nd. I will call for Otonabee-South Monaghan. I will call the meeting to order at exactly 5:01. The first thing I would like from council is a motion to go into closed session. This is under section 239, subsection 3.1 of the Municipal Act, and this is for the purposes of educational or training session related to building and planning departments. Deputy Mayor Clark has made that motion. Councillor Howie has seconded. All in favor? Carried. Okay, Heather, we'll get you to stop the recording. Okay, good evening, everyone. We will resume our regular council meeting now. Could I get a motion, please, that we rise in open session with nothing to report? Councillor Powers and Deputy Mayor Clark, all in favor? It's carried. We are now in our open council meeting at 6:01. I will ask Councillor Howie to begin by reciting the land recognition.
Okay, get my glasses focused now from watching that screen. We would like to begin by acknowledging the township of Otonabee-South Monaghan is located on the traditional territory of the Michi-Sagi peoples. These are Treaty 20 and Williams Treaty lands. We encourage everyone to educate themselves on the details of these documents and the influence of the First Nations in Canada's history. The Council of Otonabee-South Monaghan recognize these contributions and commit to actions which demonstrate respect for the environment and keeping in with First Nation traditions reflects the security of the next 7 generations.
Thank you very much, Councillor Howie. For the people's benefit that are attending this meeting tonight, we open all our council meetings with a land recognition statement, and each councillor has a turn at reading it. So every 5 meetings, everybody gets to read it once. Tonight actually was going to be Councillor Allen's turn, but Councillor Allen is unable to attend the meeting tonight and sends his regrets. Okay, moving down now in the agenda, announcements from the mayor, and I do have a couple of things that I wanted to announce. It's with a great deal of pleasure. It was just confirmed today that we can publicly announce this. It's with a great deal of pleasure that I can announce that our ICIP funding to the Green Stream for the water main upgrade Crystal Springs has been approved. We have been approved. Federal contribution is about $483,000. The province is contributing about $403,000. The total of the funding contribution for the Crystal Springs water main replacement is about a little over $886,000. Folks, we have been after this for, I think, about 10 years. It's been never ending. We've worked hard for this. This council gets a great deal of credit because we haven't let go. Particularly, we need to acknowledge the contributions of our MPP, Dave Piccini. He's been invaluable at pushing this through to at the Ministry of Infrastructure. It's very, very rewarding to see that our efforts have not been for naught. And finally, we've been able to get this funding. We're going to proceed with this project sometime in the summer of 2022. And I'm very, very pleased to see this. The other announcement I want to make is there was a significant fire in Otonabee-South Monaghan on April 28th and April 29th. Our fire chief, Chuck Parsons, is going to give us a verbal update on that during his portion of the agenda. So that's it for the announcements. We'll move down now to number 6. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest among any members of council with the matters that are before us this evening? Seeing none, we'll move right down to minutes. We have 2 sets of minutes, council meeting. We have the regular council meeting of April 4th and the regular council meeting of April the 25th. Any concern or questions on those minutes? Seeing none, could I get a motion, please, that we approve them? Deputy Mayor Clark, Councillor Howie, any questions at all on them? Call the vote. All in favor? They are approved. Thank you very much. Now, there is a set of committee meeting notes from our roads committee on April 14th. And this is a little, I don't know how exactly to phrase this. Committee meeting minutes should be approved by the committee itself before it comes to council for their review. And that's all the council do is review them. In this case, the committee consists of Councillor Howie and I. Generally speaking, that's not the case. So I think it's okay for council just to review these. If there's any questions, we can try to answer them. But for the most part, and the question was asked at the last meeting, could we not see committee meeting minutes sooner? Yes, but I think it's important that the committee see them first and approve them before they come back to council. So the road committee notes from April 14th are there. Are there any questions from any members of council on them? Any concerns with the comments I've just made? Deputy Mayor, go ahead, Bonnie.
Yes, I'll make the motion to receive them. And, you know, for the fact that Councillor Powers and myself were not at that committee meeting, we have no idea if that is the report or if members would like to change anything in that report. So I certainly concur with them coming to council once they're passed by that board or committee. So I will move we just receive, but don't expect to see them in the future until they're passed.
Thank you very much. So Deputy Mayor has moved to receive these committee notes. Councillor Powers has seconded it. Call the vote. All in favor? Carried. Now the clerk has just advised me that unfortunately I missed the adoption of the agenda. Could I get a motion? Are there any, first of all, are there any additions or deletions from the agenda now that we're halfway through it? Deputy Mayor?
Yes, through the mayor, just under when we come to information, I just want to mention there is 2 seminars available. One is around building permits and liability that anyone can sign up for. And the other one is also dealing with speed. There is a seminar that is being offered as well. And if you can't attend them, if you do register, they will send the link that you can actually watch the presentation at your own time. So I can forward those to Greg to put out to council or whatever the wish of the CAO is, or maybe he's already seen those.
Okay, I think Deputy Mayor, why don't we just slide that in under other matters when we get to that? Okay, so the agenda will be amended slightly. Deputy Mayor Clark's going to have some information to put under other matters. Could I get a motion, please, that we adopt the agenda as amended? Howie and Powers, all in favor? Carried. Okay, thank you, Heather, for catching that. Moving down now to 13.1, which is something that's been in the works for quite some time, with the closing and sale of part of First Street. And I'm going to turn it over to our CAO to present this report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I see that Mr. Tully has joined us as well to see this. So thank you, Mr. Tully, for being available. So we've been working on this for about 18 months. I know Mr. Tully's been working on this for about 50 years, give or take a few years. But this is the situation that we spoke with council going back in June of 2021. It's pretty self-explanatory. The report lays it out. I think, you know, there's a significant portion of Mr. Tully's backyard that exists within our current road allowance, includes a septic bed and a few other installations. And then Mr. Ward, who's to the east of Mr. Tully, has a full dining room addition that sits on the road allowance. So we were approached by Mr. Tully and Mr. Ward. We had a conversation with our solicitor and with council, and as the report says, there were 3 options. We could do an encroachment agreement, we could do a transfer of property, or we could just sort of take no action. So council directed us to look at having a survey done, which has been done, creating 2 separate parts. In this particular case, part 1 would be the traveled road portion and would be retained by the municipality. Part 2 would be transferred to Mr. Tully, and part 3 would be transferred to the wards. Again, our policy is attached to the report, talks about this transfer, about how do we do it. So the recommendations that are there is that that we would look at is that there would be, council would receive the report. We would look at a potential transfer for a nominal fee to Mr. Tully, and they transfer to Mr. Ward on a nominal fee. And then all costs related to this, which is the cost of surveying, the cost of legal costs for registration, and the cost for advertising would be borne by the two property owners in this particular case. So we did follow our policy that had this particular issue. It was advertised for 3 consecutive weeks in local newspapers, along with the proposed draft, our plan as far as how we would sort of do this particular stop up and close. And if council has any questions, I'd certainly be pleased to answer them to the best of our ability.
Thank you, Greg. Deputy Mayor, go ahead, Bonnie.
I am just so pleased to see this come to fruition. It has been in the works for a long time, so I think we're all familiar with it. So I will certainly make the record that we follow the recommendation that is in our agenda, that we receive and follow it, and move this to the bylaw portion, and hallelujah.
So the motion would be to receive the report and approve the recommendations. There's 4 of them there.
Yes.
Okay, so Deputy Mayor Clark has made that motion. Councillor Howie seconded it. Okay, questions or speaking to the motion? Councillor Powers, go ahead.
No, I had no questions. I was simply raising in favor.
All right. Okay, good. Mr. Tully is part of the meeting. Mr. Tully, you have been following this closely and you're aware of the recommendations there and you have no concern with them. Is that correct? You're muted, Mr. Tully. Just there you go.
Okay, I'm a dinosaur when it comes to this kind of stuff. So
That's okay.
yeah, no, that's great. I would just like to thank council for this, especially Bonnie. She was the first one to come about 4 years ago to get this thing going. And yes, I have been trying to get this transferred basically since I moved here 48 years ago. So, hey, hallelujah. You know, it's great.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay, council, so the motion's on the floor. I'll call the vote. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Tully. Okay, moving down the agenda now, we have 16.1, which is a report on the firefighter certification update. I'll turn it over to our fire chief.
Thank you, Worship, and through you, I will update council on the fire after this report. So as you recall, I was at council in January discussing about the firefighter certification. And if you recall at that time, it was a very short window that we had to make comments on it. Myself and the mayor made comments to the registry with regards to our concerns to the legislation. And letters were drafted as well as the registration to our local MPP, to the Minister, Solicitor General, Fire Marshal, and the Ontario Association of Fire Chiefs. The Ontario Association of Fire Chiefs also drafted a very lengthy document. They received 500 comments from chiefs that they were able to put into the document that was fairly significant. And for the first time, both the full-time and the volunteer chiefs were on the same page on the legislation and our concerns. It went away on the 30th or the 28th of February. We received a request from the fire marshal on the 30th of March to have a virtual meeting with the chiefs. We were told that it was modified. He gave us a kind of a verbal summary of what the legislation was going to look like. Chiefs asked if we could see the legislation before it was signed, but we were told that that was not going to be possible and that the minister was going to be signing off on it, which the minister did on April 14th to come in effect July 1st. So all consultation at that point stopped, and we have what we have today. I have included the legislation for council to read, but I've kind of hit some of the highlights that were changed from my original report and some of the things that we may see. First of all, OSM is in a good position currently on where we stand with certification. Our firefighters are well into that certification process. So right now, our trained staff is very high. What the regulations will come into effect in force on July 1st, 2026 for regular fire duties, and our specialized teams will come in on July 1st of 2028. Originally, they told us we would have 24 months to certify a firefighter. They have now moved that to 36 months. So they've heard us that we needed longer time to do our certification. So a firefighter, when they get on the fire department, will have 36 months to certify. They also heard that we have firefighters that because of age or experience may not want to certify or do not perform a function of interior firefighting. Previously, they asked that we would have a full service fire department or a gold seal fire department. They've watered that down a little bit to firefighters. So I can have a full service firefighter, which is fully certified for interior attack and all functions. I can also have what I call a gold seal firefighter that would, under an operational guideline, would not enter a fire, would be support staff. So that was a bit of a win on that side of the change. One of our big issues were pump operators and the training of pump operators. There's a bit of a consensus. The day it goes into force on July 1st, 2022, anybody as a pump operator is going to be considered certified at that time. So they do not have to obtain certification for the rest of their career. They will be certified pump operator. Any pump operators that are hired after July 1st, 2022 will have to be certified at that point in time. So we will still have to do some certification, but it's not like I'm losing all my pump operators on July 1st. They will be considered certified. They also took the mandatory certification for auto extrication and heavy equipment or heavy auto extrication, large trucks. They removed that from the original regulations, and they've moved it back to the municipality's discretion of training, which we train to the NFPA standards anyways and our local standards, but we do not have to go through the certification process on it. They also changed that all instructors had to have the 1041 training officer level, and now only the lead instructor has to have that. As long as the lead instructor is present, then the other instructors do not have to have that certification. So I can utilize outside parties, or I can utilize firefighters with expertise. All other duties, fire officers, fire prevention, public education, fire investigation, incident safety officers will all be required to certify before conducting rules. The Office of the Fire Marshal and costs, which I'm sure is on everyone's mind. The Fire Marshal has still committed that they will have evaluators to conduct and proctor the testings in our stations. We still think that's going to be an issue, and until we see some positive, we're kind of leery on that situation. We've told the Solicitor General and the Fire Marshal they need to fund that, and they need to find the staffing for that moving forward. We are also monitoring through the Ontario Association of Fire Chiefs that if the Fire Marshal is not coming up with their commitment, that we will report them, and that report will be moved on to the Solicitor General, Fire Marshal, to ensure that they're carrying out their end of the deal. The Fire Marshal has also talked about bulk buying for training techs that we're going to require. That's great. It hopefully will reduce our cost of our training techs, but the fact that we have to do more training is a balance. So we win on one side and we still are at the other, on the loss on the other side. They have indicated, it's been brought up several times, that currently there's no grants for the fire service on this. We will continue to push for grants for certification, and I ask council and administration to take every opportunity they can to petition the government for any grants that we can find for it. We all know that fire does not receive an awful lot of grants. With our recruitment and retention, the fire marshals indicated that they will be working on materials to assist with recruitment and retention. I believe that we need to jump on it ahead of time, and we're going to try and start our own initiatives to programs to initiate that issue and to address it. And I will continue to track that, our initiatives, our challenges, our costs, and what our retention is in our annual report. So any of these costs will appear in the annual report. So that was basically what came out of the regulations that are different than what we had talked about before. The financial impact right now, there's none present right now because of where we stand in our lead time coming in, but we should consider a gradual increase on our training budget as the future budgets come in. That should be an area that we take a strong look at. I was at a meeting at Norwood the other day, and even our costs for propane and smoke have gone up significantly. So our training dollars at Norwood are going to go up as well, just because of the significant costs of those items. So in summary, the regulations have been modified to reflect a lot of the potential issues with certification, but we still have a number of challenges we need to address. We're currently in good standing, and I cannot see our services reducing. And then planning for the future will be necessary to keep focus on that certification and its costs and guidelines. And we will keep council informed through every process on our regular updates and any outside updates from that. And my recommendation on the board is to receive it for information, and I gladly open it up to any questions.
Thank you very much, Chuck. Councillor Powers, go ahead, Nick.
Thanks, Mayor Taylor. Very good, thorough report, Chuck. Thanks for that. Question I had is around the training load. You kind of allude to, you know, the firefighters are already under high scrutiny when it comes to training. If we look at the expectations that's put on our firefighters today from a training and certification perspective within OSM, what immediate changes do you see, if any, for those firefighters today, and then maybe the new recruits that are coming in versus what they're doing today?
Sure. So my training officer and I have talked about this at length, and there's a couple of things that we're going to be looking at. As far as the training they're doing right now, all my firefighters are going through the certification process at Norwood, and they have for the last couple of years. That's why we're in the shape that we're in. Obviously, when we start looking at officers and pump operators down the road, and I have 4 years to get that under control, we will be increasing that sort of training at that time. As far as expectations, and this is something I really I talked to another station or district chief this morning. We're actually going to look at a different time of hiring or a different way of hiring. Right now, we currently hire in the fall, and we start them so that they basically start at Norwood right off the hit. And then when they're halfway through the course, they see the workload, or they see that's when we tend to lose them, and our investment is not there anymore. We're looking at around doing a spring hiring in the future so that they get, because they can work alongside us in a very limited capacity, but at least get a flavor of what we're doing and what the commitment is before we commit the dollars into training them at Norwood. So that way, we've got kind of 6 months with them to talk to them, look at their expectations, ensure they're meeting expectations, and then move them along. So I think it's a better, just by adjusting our hiring time gives us a better idea that we have suitable firefighters.
Okay. Thanks, Chuck.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Clark, go ahead, Bonnie.
Yes, through the mayor to Chief Parsons. The couple of things that I want to ask about, and that is our pump operators, because if we don't have pump operators, there's no point showing up at the fire. So how long is that certification, and is that certification done in Norwood as well?
So the answer is it's 40 hours worth of certification. It will be done in Norwood, and we may have opportunities to do it even at our own station. So we have it's a little bit more mobile because we're not dealing with live fire and that sort of thing. So it's a little easier to do, but length of time. And again, for the next 4 years, I can prep pump ops as I have pump ops retire or leave. I'm very happy because I have a really good number of pump operators now. that I think if we told them they were going to have to be certified and go through the process, I'd have a number of papers on my desk telling me they don't want to do this job anymore. So the fact that we don't have to do that effective July 1st, everyone that is operating as a pump operator continues on like nothing happened. They are certified for life. So that's been helpful.
And just one follow-up, if I may, Mayor Taylor. So through to Chief Parsons again, that certification for the people that have the certification now are grandfathered in. The people that have to put the 40 hours in to get their certification, is that a one-off, Chief Parsons?
Yes.
Okay.
Once they're certified, you're certified for your career.
Excellent.
Now, saying that, in my career, I've gone through 4 certifications, even as a firefighter, because they changed the rules along the way. So if I had a crystal ball, but currently under the legislation, once you're certified, you're certified. So, and we're going to continue to monitor this because it puts a lot of onus on the fire marshal's office. And I'm not maybe I'm a skeptic with the fire marshal's office, but there's a lot of things they've started in the last 30 years that haven't been finished. So we're holding them to task, saying if you're going to do this, then you have to be able to follow up on your end. So we're spending a lot of time auditing them on their promises to us. So,
Councillor Howie, go ahead, Ken.
Yeah, that was a very good report. And I kind of went through that whole area when you were all grandfathering in, when everything was coming up before I retired. One of the questions I got through COVID, I noticed that a lot of some of our firefighters had dropped off and decided not to be firefighters anymore. How would that affect them if they were to come back?
A lot of those were grandfathered or they were certified. So their certification grandfathering maintains if they decide to come back. If they were not grandfathered or certified, obviously they would have to go through the process as of coming back as of July 1st. So as long as they were grandfathered or certified, then it holds, it stays. And it transfers between departments too. Hence, I came here, my certifications all stand. So that was one of the reasons that they went to the NFPA as opposed to the Ontario standards, is because our international our NFPAs are international certification, and we have reciprocity with every state and province that we didn't with the Ontario certification. So it also makes us very mobile.
Great, thanks.
Okay, thank you, Chuck. Again, that was a well-written report. I'm pleased that the Ontario Fire Marshal's Office did listen to the chiefs, the volunteer fire chiefs right across the province. We didn't get everything we asked for, but we got some of the things. So, we can live with it. We're lucky in this township. It doesn't affect our department quite as much as it does a lot of others. And it's naive to think their position from day one is there'll be no cost to the fire department. So it's naive to think that's correct. There will be a cost. As Chuck said, we'll have to deal with this at next year's budget, but we're better positioned than a lot of folks, and we did get some of the things we asked for. So overall, I'm not entirely dissatisfied with it. I think it's something we can live with, and then primarily because we have no choice. So I'm going to ask for your verbal update, Chuck, just in a moment. I think right now I'd like a motion, please, to receive the report regarding firefighter certification. I see Councillor Powers and Councillor Howie. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And Chuck, if you would mind, please just provide a brief verbal report to council about the incident that occurred last week.
Sure. Welcome to OSM. We responded on Friday morning. Well, it was Thursday night at 11:45. Response for a fully involved building. When we got there, we found it was a auto recyclers that was on fire. On my response, I could see the fireballs and explosions on my way in. And we had a large number, the building itself, a large number of tires, a number of vehicles on fire. It was, for some of my firefighters have said they've never seen anything like it. We responded with our 4 stations, and Duro Dummer responded with one station. And they did an amazing job at the beginning there. Like I say, there was a lot of explosions. We didn't know what was in there, and they held their lines very well. I have to say, Mark Claiborne was my incident commander, did a bang up job, and Mike was my incident safety officer. We realized about an hour and a half in, we were going to need more staff just to rotate because it was a tough call. Anfred sent us 12 firefighters. We dumped that station, and in calling Chief Belfour, he sent Sylvan Station down to cover Keene. So they housed in our station in Keene, and then Kevin Monacan was covering our medical calls on Station 3 and 4's area, or Station 2 and 3's area. So ironically, Bill asked me if I wanted to see him on scene. I said, I think we had it handled. And about 20 minutes later, he tapped me on the shoulder. I think he just wanted to see the fire. So I always appreciate another chief's advice. We actually hit it, got it knocked down about 2 hours earlier than I expected. The guys did an amazing job. We had Ministry of Environment on the scene. Ironically, there was no licenses for this location, and the containers were unknown. Ministry of Environment did a water analysis. Nothing got off of the site. It stayed on the site. It did not go into any of the water courses, so we were able to maintain our water on the site. And so that is great news. They were happy with what went on, and they're going to continue on with their enforcement side, along with Ministry of Labor is going to be doing some enforcement as well. We were on scene for about 10.5 hours to get it out. And, you know, as the fire chief, one of the best things is I went 10.5 hours and had 0 injuries, not so much as a hangnail on the fire. And the thing that really makes me happy is I went 10.5 hours, 0 injuries, no broken equipment. So that always makes me happy. But of course, with the amount of damage, we could not get a cause on it. But we do have, I would say there's 1,000 tires there that we were able to stop about halfway through. The autos were a mess. So I know the Ministry of Environment has taken the lead on the enforcement side. And that's where we're at with the fire. But guys did an amazing job. The guys and gals did an absolutely amazing job, and our partners did fantastic. We had OBP there, we had EMS, so everybody came to the party, and it was a very good operation. So very proud of my folks. And if you had come past the town hall at about 10:30 and saw how much hose we had laid out, the entire front of Station 1 was laid out with hose being washed, and so they really had a big day. I mean, it was well afternoon before they got out, so we're looking at a 12-hour work day. So, and we ran a couple of calls while we were in the middle of doing the work, the cleanup work. So it just doesn't end. So I'll answer any questions that I can if anybody has any more questions on it.
Thank you, Chuck. I appreciate that. So when we're finished with this, council, I will be asking for a motion just to receive the verbal update, and that council send a message of thank you and appreciation to and congratulations to our fire department and all the staff for a really well done job. But before we get to that, is there any questions to Chuck on this at all? Thank you, Chuck. You know, in the fire budget, there's a training line. There's always significant hours and significant costs of that, but it's incidents like you just described that help us understand the true value of those training dollars. And when we can come out of that with an incident that lasted 10 hours long with no injuries, that's as good as we can hope for. That's really good news. So congratulations to you and all of your department for a job very well done. I would like a motion, please, that we receive the verbal update and that we extend appreciation to all the fire department staff for the way they responded to the incident in our township on April 28th and April 29th. I see, before I go to that, I'll get to Bonnie Clark first, but I see Greg with his hand up. Greg, did you want to jump in there before we do the motion?
Just a really quick addition. I think we should also thank our neighbors, so Kevin Monaghan, Duro Dummer, and for providing that mutual assistance at the time of need.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Yeah. So Deputy Mayor, the motion will be to thank our staff and the neighboring municipalities that supplied mutual aid.
Absolutely, and well done.
Good. Thank you. And motion is going to be seconded by Councillor Powers. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chuck.
Thank you, Worship.
Okay, moving down now to 17.1. It's a mandatory report on council remuneration. Any questions on it? Spence form, any questions at all? Seeing none, just need a motion to receive it. And there's our new director of finance right there. Shelley's been waiting patiently in the wings. Shelley, did you want to talk to this at all?
Sure, I don't mind talking to it. Thank you very much, Your Worship. I just wanted to highlight this is an annual report that is required under Section 284 of the Municipal Act. So there is, it's just a straightforward report that lists all of the remuneration that was given to a council and any of the boards and committees. And there was one section, there were no expenses this year, this past year in 2021, with a lot of conferences and training and things like that. There were no benefits or expenses in that regards. There were some questions I understand in regards to the benefits that are listed for council members, and that is the employer's portion of the CPP. And that's a mandatory requirement under the legislation. But other than that, everything is straightforward.
Very good. Thank you, Shelley. Any questions to Shelley on this report? Deputy Mayor, go ahead, Bonnie.
Yes, through the mayor, and it was I that asked that question about the benefits because Mayor Taylor's benefits were the cell phone and my benefits were nil. So the moral of the story is that the old folks are cheaper to hire.
No comment. Any other questions? Shelley, I had one when it lists the report here where it lists the various boards and all the members of those boards. Most of them also include a council member or two, and they're not listed in there. Is there a particular reason why they would be omitted?
Yes, the council members would not be receiving any type of honorarium for sitting on those boards. So even though they're sitting on the boards, they're not listed on this report.
Yeah, I understand that. We certainly don't, nor should we. We don't get paid for sitting on those boards. But I just wondered if there's a reason why their names wouldn't be there, just with a zero opposite that.
It's a template that's been in place for a number of years, so it's been carried forward.
Okay. Okay, so I'd like a motion, please, to receive the council remuneration report as supplied by the treasurer, Councillor Howie and Councillor Powers. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thank you, Shelley. Okay, council, we've got a number of bylaws. Could I get a motion, please, that bylaw 2022-19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24 be read a first time? Councillor Howie and Deputy Mayor Clark, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. I'd ask the clerk to review the bylaws, please.
Bylaw 2022-19 is your council confirming bylaw for April the 4th and the 25th. 2022-20 is the planning the mitigation agreement for Dick and Ty, and this is a condition of severance. 2022-21 is the planning the road closing for Tullingham Ward, which you heard earlier this evening. 2022-22 is your planning your merger agreement bylaw for Nybor, and it again is a condition of severance. 2022-23 is the public works traffic speed reduction for baseline. And if I can, I'll just comment on this one. I know in the last council meeting, it was suggested it go from Keene Road to Heritage Line. What we thought is because Keene Road to Hiawatha Line had already been done in a previous bylaw, we just took it from Hiawatha Line straight down to Heritage Line. That's why there's a difference in there, considering based on what your recommendation was previously. And 2022-24 is the finance the tax rate bylaw.
Okay, thank you, Heather. Any questions to the clerk on any of these bylaws? Deputy Mayor, go ahead, Bonnie.
Yes, through the mayor to you, Heather. So in actual fact, what you're saying, that section of 60 was already in place that we asked about, and this will be, in theory, it is from the old Keene Road through to Heritage.
Through you, Mayor, to Deputy Mayor, yes, you are quite.
No, not in theory, it will be.
It will.
Or yes, but once this is passed, but
Yeah.
just what Heather was
Yeah.
saying. So it's just, we had done that 60 in front of the golf course before, so.
There was already a bylaw passed to change the speed limit
Exactly.
from Keene Road to Hiawatha line. So we'd have to eliminate that bylaw or rewrite it. So it was easier just to do it this way. It accomplishes exactly what council wanted.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions to the clerk on any of these bylaws? Seeing none, could I get a motion, please, that bylaws 22-19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24 be read a second and third time, signed, sealed, and the corporate seal attached? Deputy Mayor Clark and Councillor Powers. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Correspondence, just one piece of correspondence from the Township of Cramé regarding Bill 109. What is council's pleasure on that one? Councillor Powers, go ahead, Nick.
I think, well, I'd like to reserve in terms of support or not support until I've heard from our staff on Bill 109. So I would just say receive for information.
Motion to receive. Do I have a seconder? Deputy Mayor Clark. Any questions on the motion? Deputy Mayor, go ahead, Bonnie.
Just with one comment, I was not aware of these container boats, and I did Google it. So this is quite concerning as well.
Okay, very good. So the motion is just to receive.
Yeah.
Call the vote. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. There was nothing under the information package. Other matters, I had a couple of items that I wanted to talk about, and sorry, Heather, go ahead.
Mayor Taylor, yes, Deputy Mayor Clark had some information with the seminars.
Yeah, I said we'd slide that in, or we'd slide it in under other matters, if that's okay. Is that all right? Okay.
Sorry, I thought you said it under information.
She has information for other matters. Are you confused yet? Okay, under other matters, the first one was we had a police services board meeting on Friday. The council appointee Dave Trotter, myself, Heather Clark, Heather Scott, and acting deputy commander Chris Galeazza. And there's a bunch of reporting lines in this report, but the one that I wanted to bring to council's attention that I thought was interesting, and if not concerning, was fraud. The incident of fraud is up significantly right across the county. In our township alone, it's up 166% over the same reporting period of last year. Now that is alarming. To put it in perspective, the incidents went from 3 to 8, okay, but it's still an increase, a substantial increase. And this fraud consists primarily against seniors. And how it works is quite often there'll be a telephone call made to a senior with a lot of commotion in the background and a voice that vaguely resembles one of the grandchildren. The voice is asking them desperately to please send money that they're in trouble for some reason or other. Well, of course, the grandparents, the seniors, are quite upset by all of this and react. It's happening a lot, and it's happening to a lot of the seniors in our community. And that's why I wanted to raise the issue. Other police service boards right across the county have been dealing with it, and there's been a number of suggestions. And one is that families should have a password. So that, in other words, if my son or my grandchild calls, if he can't supply that password when I ask for it, then I know it's not legitimate. So that was one recommendation that the police thought was a very good one, that all families have a password that's to be used in times of emergency. And it can be shared to verify that you are indeed a member of that family. The other is there's going to be some consistent messaging coming from the OPP as to exactly what our residents should do and not do, what to look out for. As soon as that's available, we're going to make it known on our website. We're going to put it on our social media platforms. We're even going to, we're going to put it in our newsletter, and we're going to try and condense it and put some sort of message on our digital signboard at Four Corners and Keene if we can. But I thought it was a very interesting story. I thought it was significant enough that council should hear it, and our residents should be aware of it because, well, you know what, council, there's two members on this council that are old enough to be grandparents, and we all have to watch out for this, I guess. So anyway, that was the police service board update that I wanted to present. The other question, I think what I'm going to do is let Deputy Mayor Clark present her information, and then we'll go to the last thing of what you want to talk to you about is our next council meeting. So go ahead, Bonnie.
Thank you, Mayor Taylor. So there are two sessions, Zoom sessions being offered. One is around the building permit, the liabilities and what's involved. So if anyone is interested, I can forward those to Greg. And the other one was around speeding and how to deal with speeding. And I know we all get calls with that through all the settlement areas. So I will forward it to Greg or Heather, whichever, and then put it out to council members if they're interested. And the other thing, in fact, last week again, these people that are calling around with these scams are using landline numbers in Ontario. So last week, I happened to be down in the grading station at the other farm and got a call from a gentleman from Pennsylvania insisting that I had made a call to him, which I had not, and told him basically it was a scam. And when the number comes up, it is a landline in Ontario. And I have got them, my own personal landline phone and the one at the other farm through, it's a couple in the States, but from BC through to Quebec. I haven't got any out of the East Coast, but they're using our landlines as well, numbers. So it's scary.
It is, and there's no end to the ingenuity, if that's the right word for some of these folks. The building official, sorry, go ahead.
If I just may follow up. So I did call over, Nexicom is our landline service person. I did call over. There's nothing they can do to block that number at all. They assured me I would get no long distance charges, but there is nothing they can do to try to stop them.
Yeah. Well, we all need to be aware of this. Unfortunately, it's going to be becoming more and more common, I'm afraid. The building official meeting, I think, Bonnie, that you're talking about, I believe that's the same one I forwarded to Greg. And I don't know if, Greg, you did forward, I think, to all council members, did you not?
I have not yet. Excuse me, I've got a bit of a cold here. The one thing that was specifically looking at the revocation of building permits. And so if we're going to get into a situation where we're going to revoke a permit, which never really happens, we do it through the legal advice of our solicitor. So, and we get that particular thing, but I know that building seminar was specifically for the revocation of building permits.
That was put on by our insurance company, right?
It's not our insurance company. It's put on by the public. It was formerly Cowan Insurance. It's called, so they had been purchased by intact public entities. And okay. So that they were putting that on.
Anyway, Bonnie, if you could forward those links through to Greg.
Well, I won't. It's when I spoke to Mayor Taylor personally, that's the one that you and I spoke, and you already spoke to Greg. So that's covered off. Yeah. But I will forward the one on speeding and mitigation that we can use, and Heather as well. I'll just do it to Greg and Heather, and they can send it to all of council.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know whether all council got it anyway. I'm really not sure, but at any rate, it appeared in my inbox. The last thing, council, I wanted to talk to you about was we have another meeting 16th of May, 2 weeks from now. Council, do you want that to be in person or do you want it to be virtual? What's your choice? My understanding is it's a fairly heavy meeting. We've got a lot of planning reports to deal with. Greg, if it's in person, will mandatory masking still be in place? It will, okay.
Mr. Mayor, we're, from the staff's perspective, we're recommending that we remain virtual for the month of May and then maybe go to in person in June is what we, I
And
guess our advice to council.
what does council feel? Where's your comfort level? Ken, go ahead.
I'd say we should go with the recommendations of staff because they're the ones that are more involved and know more what's going on and how many people will be showing up or not showing up.
Okay, Deputy Mayor, what do you say, Lonnie?
Yes, I certainly will go with the staff recommendation. In speaking to other council members, they have they're moved into larger facilities. And I don't know in the future if we maybe moved over to the fire hall where we could spread out a bit more than our council chambers, if that may be something that staff would think about holding it over there, because we just don't have that luxury of being able to get a 6-foot distance really between council members. So just thoughts on that.
Okay, so I think what I'd like to make this almost formal. I'd like a motion, please, that council direct staff that our next meeting on May 16th will be electronic. Councillor Howie, Deputy Mayor Clark, call the vote. All in favor? Carried. Okay, so that's the decision of council. That's the way it will be. Okay. Anybody else got anything else? Because it's 6:51 and I don't say anything more. Just looking for a motion to adjourn. Howie and Powers. Next, give me the thumbs up. I think he's in favor. Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Good night.